Hey, what's up everybody, I'm Charlie, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make my delicious meatloaf with mashed potatoes, brown gravy, and peas. This recipe can serve up to about 5 people and it is absolutely delicious. So let's get started. Here is all what you'll need to make your meatloaf, mashed potatoes, brown gravy, and green peas. You will need 36 ounces, that's 2 pounds of ground beef chuck. You will also need some eggs, plain breadcrumbs, all-purpose flour, 2 russet potatoes, salted or unsalted butter, whole milk, 2 cans, that's 30 ounces of sweet peas, sugar, and for your seasonings you will need 1 yellow onion, garlic, salt, Tony Chachere's Creole seasoning. Now if you don't have this, you can use the Zatarain's Creole seasoning or the Slap Your Mama Creole seasoning. You will also need some Chef Papadone's Poetry Magic, some Worcestershire sauce, and some Better Than bouillon beef base. To bake our meatloaf, you're going to need a 9 by 13 inch metal or glass pan, and you will also need a mesh strainer and a meat thermometer. And there we have it. Chop 1 yellow onion, here I have about 5 cloves of garlic. We're going to take our knife and we're going to chop that up. Using a potato peeler, we're going to peel 2 russet potatoes. Cut the potatoes into quarter pieces. Here I have a bowl filled with cold water. Add 1 teaspoon of vinegar. Give that a quick stir. Add the potatoes into the vinegar and water solution. Not only does the vinegar and water solution help clean the potatoes, but it also prevents them from turning brown. Here I have 4 cups of hot water into a medium-sized bowl. We're going to add 1 tablespoon of the Better Than bouillon beef base. We're going to stir that until the beef base dissolves into the water. And this is how it looks when we're done. Here we have our ground beef. Let's add some seasoning. Add 3/4 cup of chopped yellow onion, 1 tablespoon of chopped garlic, 2 teaspoons of salt, a 1/2 teaspoon of Tony Chachere's Creole seasoning, and 2 teaspoons of Chef Papadone's Poetry Magic. Using your hands, mix all the ingredients together. Now it's very important that you season your ground beef, okay? Gotta add enough seasoning into it so it can have some flavor. Here I have 2 large eggs. We're going to take a fork and we're going to mix that in. Add it into your ground beef. And along with that, you're going to add 1/8 cup of Worcestershire sauce. And remember that beef stock that we made, we're going to add 1/3 cup of that in there. And 1/3 cup of breadcrumbs. Using your hands, mix all the ingredients together. Now all the wet ingredients that we added, from the eggs to the Worcestershire sauce, the beef stock, and even some of the breadcrumbs, all of those ingredients are going to combine together to give us a nice, tender, and juicy meatloaf. Now this step is optional. If you want to marinate this, You can place it into your refrigerator for 30 minutes or overnight. We've transferred our ground beef onto a chopping board. Here we will form the ground beef into a 9-inch long by 5-inch wide rectangle. You want to make it the shape similar to a loaf. Preheat your oven to 325 degrees. Here we transferred our meatloaf into our 13 by 9-inch baking pan. Now I want to sear this, but I'm going to have to leave it as is because my pans are too small to sear it on both sides. Add 2.5 cups of beef stock. Now as you can see, that beef stock is pretty hot, and it also has some onions in it which I added on my own, but you don't have to do this step if you don't want to. Now it's ready to be baked. Place into a preheated 325 degree oven. Bake it for 1 hour and 15 minutes. After 30 minutes, pull out the bottom rack to your oven. Using a spoon, pour the beef stock on top of your meatloaf. Push your bottom rack back into the oven, and you repeat this step every 30 minutes. Spend about an hour and 15 minutes now. Pull out the bottom rack to your oven. Using a spoon, pour the beef stock on top of your meatloaf. Insert a meat thermometer inside the middle of the meatloaf to check for the temperature. The meatloaf should have an internal temperature in between 160 and 165 degrees. Now as you can see, the temperature of the meatloaf here has surpassed that 160 degree mark, which is perfect. That lets us know that our meatloaf is done. Now I also want to let you know that baking times vary, so it can take more or less time to reach that 160 degree mark. Okay, now we're going to take our meatloaf out of the oven. As you can see, our meatloaf has released some food particles and some grease. We're going to remove the meatloaf out of the pan and set that aside. Add your beef stock into a mesh strainer with a medium-sized bowl underneath it. We're going to strain out all of those food particles that the meatloaf left behind. To get rid of the oil released by the meatloaf, you can take a spoon and you can skim the oil out of the beef stock, or what I'm going to do is I'm going to place this into the refrigerator for 3 hours so that oil can harden. It's been about 3 hours now, and our oil has turned solid. I'm going to take a fork and we're just going to break that oil apart, and we're going to take the pieces of solid oil and we're going to place that into a separate bowl. And this is how it looks when we're done. Now we have a beef stock with those juices left over from the meatloaf with majority of the oils removed. Now this is 1.5 cups of beef stock we have in here. Here we have our solid oil left over from our meatloaf. We're going to take this and place this into our microwave for 2 minutes or until the fat melts completely. And this is how it looks when we're done. Now we're going to take this oil along with our beef stock and we're going to make a delicious and flavorful gravy with this. So let's get started with that. Preheat your fire to medium-high heat. Add 1/4 cup of oil. Now remember, this oil comes from our meatloaf. Okay, we're going to let this get hot for about 2 minutes. Add 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour. Using a wooden spatula, stir all your ingredients together. We want to turn this into a nice dark brown color. So we're going to continue to stir this for 6 minutes or until it reaches a dark brown color. It's been about 6 minutes now, and as you can see, our roux is starting to turn to a nice dark brown color. Don't worry about the smoke, ladies and gentlemen, that's normal. we're going to add our 1.5 cups of beef stock. Remember the beef stock that we cooked the meatloaf in? That's what you're going to add in here. You stir all your ingredients together. And we're not done yet adding the beef stock. We're going to add a little bit more beef stock to this, okay? Add 1.5 cups of beef stock. Now remember that beef stock that we made early into the video? You're going to add that in there. Stir all your ingredients together. You're going to let this come to a simmer first. Then you're going to let it simmer for about 5 minutes. At this time, you want to go ahead and taste your gravy to see if it's at your desired taste. If not, you can add more seasoning if you like. It's been about 5 minutes now, and our gravy is now done. Turn your fire off. Now I do want to let you know that your gravy will thicken as it cools, but to fix this, if you have any more of your beef stock left, you can add some more of that in here, or if not, you can add a little bit of water in here to thin it out some. Preheat your fire to medium-high heat. Here I have 1.5 quarts of water. Add 2 teaspoons of salt. Give that a quick stir. We're going to let this come to a boil. Add your potatoes into a strainer. Our water is at a boil now. Add your potatoes into the water. Give that a quick stir. Let this come to a boil first, then let boil for 15 minutes. It's been about 15 minutes now, and our potatoes are now done. Turn your fire off. Drain your potatoes into a strainer. Let the potatoes cool for about 20 to 30 minutes. Our potatoes have cooled. Take a potato masher and mash the potatoes. Once done, you should have between 3 to 3.5 cups of mashed potatoes. Preheat your fire to medium-high heat. Add 1/2 cup of whole milk and 3 tablespoons of unsalted butter. Let the milk come to a slight simmer and let the butter melt. This is optional. Add a sprinkle of salt. Now if you're using salted butter, disregard adding the salt. Stir all your ingredients together. Add your potatoes. Stir all your ingredients together. You're going to continue to stir this until the potatoes are nice, creamy, and smooth. At this time, you're going to turn your fire off. And our mashed potatoes are now done. As you can see, that's nice, creamy, and smooth. Preheat your fire to medium-high heat. Add 2 cans, that's 30 ounces of green peas. Add 1/3 cup of chopped yellow onion. 1/3 cup of sugar. And 4 tablespoons of melted, salted, or unsalted butter. Stir all your ingredients together. Let this come to a simmer first. Then let it simmer for 5 minutes. It's been about 5 minutes now, and our peas are now done. Turn your fire off. And that is it. Our meal is complete. Here is the final presentation. We have our meatloaf with our mashed potatoes, brown gravy, and green peas. And there you have it. Meatloaf with mashed potatoes, brown gravy, and green peas. Now it's time to go ahead and take a bite. Look at this. Look at that. Yummy, yummy. Here goes nothing. That meatloaf is tender, juicy, well seasoned. Then you have that flavor of the brown gravy along with those creamy and buttery mashed potatoes and that sweet and buttery green peas. Delicious. I'm telling y'all, try the recipe. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Meatloaf with mashed potatoes, brown gravy, and green peas, made by a New Orleans native. Thanks for watching. If you like my channel, you can subscribe to it. You can also check out this recipe along with all of my other recipes, as well as contact me, or if you want to donate to the channel, visit www.charliethecookandrews.com. I am also on Facebook at www.facebook.com/charliethecookandrews. You can like, follow, or contact me on there as well. So, until next time, take care, and I hope you all have a blessed day. Bye-bye.